After the top-tier heir lost his memory, he completely forgot I was his lover. Without hesitation, he transferred the breakup money to me, clearly wanting me gone. I rubbed my pregnant belly happily as I ran off, dressed in quality jeans for my baby, feeling no obligation to serve anyone anymore. Life couldn't have been better. But my happiness didn't last long. During my prenatal checkups, I kept running into Jack Sullivan. Fearing his memory might come back, I seriously considered fleeing abroad. Then one day, I looked up and saw him take a deep breath before walking straight toward me. "I fell in love with you at first sight," he said quietly. "May I be bold enough to ask if I can be your child's father?" I was Jack Sullivan's lover, pretty, sweet, obedient. That's why everyone was shocked when this man, who normally avoided women, did something so unexpected. He kept me by his side for 3 years. Just when everyone wondered if he'd truly fallen in love, he had a car accident. And somehow, I was the only person he forgot. One day, his assistant, Mr. Wong, called to relay Jack's post-amnesia decision about me. His tone was tactful, but firm. "Miss Claire," he said, after losing his memory, "Mr. Sullivan finds the idea of keeping a mistress incomprehensible. He doesn't believe he ever had feelings for you, and he does not wish to see you again. I'm sorry, but you must move out of the Sunview Bay Villa within the next 2 days." The Sunview Bay Villa. The place Jack had set me up in. The home where we had shared a bed for 3 years. After all that time, I'd come to consider it mine. The villa was decorated with all the pink touches I loved. The garden was filled with sunflowers, my favorite. So hearing I had to leave felt a bit melancholic. But it was his property, his decision, and his money too. I nodded dejectedly. Mr. Wong's tone softened a little. "Mr. Sullivan isn't heartless. He knows you've been with him for 3 years and feels you deserve compensation for your time, if not for any actual services. So he's transferring a breakup settlement and gifting you an apartment in the 4th ring. His only condition is that you never bother him again." As he finished speaking, a text notification popped up on my phone, 7 figures, transferred to my account. My melancholy vanished in an instant. Fireworks of joy exploded in my mind. I couldn't suppress my smile. "Mr. Wong," I texted back, "don't worry. I'll be gone in 2 days.
No, today.
And I won't ever appear before Mr. Sullivan again." This time, I'd really hit the jackpot. Money, plus a baby wearing premium jeans in my belly, and no more serving an insatiable man at night. Hee, what a windfall. Yes, I was pregnant. I loved children. So when I first found out, I tested Jack's reaction. "Do you like children?" I asked. Without hesitation, he denied it. "No, they're noisy and annoying." He looked me over and frowned. "Do you want a child?" His expression was serious. If I said yes, he'd kick me out immediately. How could I dare tell him about the pregnancy? I shook my head firmly. Not at all. I particularly hate kids. Besides, people in our situation can't have children anyway. We had no official status. Perfect answer, I thought. I'd expressed Jack's sentiment perfectly. But Jack, as if he'd eaten a poisonous mushroom, suddenly flipped out. "What exactly is our situation? You don't want to have children with me?" For his inability to understand my perfectly clear message, I could only get revenge by making a rude gesture behind his back. So, when Jack lost his memory and told me to leave, of course I took the money and ran thrilled. That very day, I had Mr. Wong handle the property transfer. I moved into the new apartment that night and happily began my pregnancy life. During the day, I took walks, cooked, and accepted our commissions. At night, I read books, listened to music, and liked photos of handsome men online. The happy days passed quickly. Soon, it was time for my prenatal checkup. Just thinking about seeing my baby, even as an embryo, filled my heart with joyful bubbles. So, I accidentally ignored that tiny flash of uneasiness in my chest. I never imagined I'd run into Jack Sullivan at a 4th ring hospital, right there in the lobby. I spotted him among the crowd. White bandages wrapped around his head, wearing blue and white striped hospital clothes. As they swept past me, I hastily lowered my head, feeling his intense stare from above. Silently, I wailed inside. He was a powerful heir in Beijing's elite circles. If he wasn't at a private hospital, he should at least be somewhere top tier. What was he doing at this ordinary 4th ring hospital? While I cursed quietly, his gaze moved away. I carefully looked up, watching Jack's silhouette disappear into the crowd. I patted my chest and exhaled deeply. He had amnesia. He'd forgotten me. So even if he saw me, it wouldn't matter. I was just a stranger to him now. Reassuring myself, I headed to the obstetrics department. There weren't many pregnant women there, so getting a number and waiting was quick. The checkup went smoothly. When the doctor handed me my baby's ultrasound image and said he was healthy, I was nervous and excited. His arrival gave me a sense of blood ties again. After losing my family, he was the miracle I'd created. Even though he wasn't born yet, I couldn't help but love him and want to keep him. I gazed happily at the ultrasound, thinking about how to preserve it. This was my baby's first photo in the world. First, I'd laminate it, find a nice frame. Ouch. Someone rushing in the opposite direction didn't have time to avoid me. I panicked and lost my balance. A strong arm wrapped around my waist to steady me, then quickly let go. Standing firm again, I looked down at the ultrasound that had fallen to the ground. I anxiously checked my belly. The person who bumped into me muttered a half-hearted apology and hurried away. I cursed under my breath as I bent to pick up the ultrasound. After brushing off the dust, I looked up to thank my rescuer. He was looking down at the ultrasound in my hand. My eyes fell on his familiar face. I was stunned. Sharp eyebrows, piercing eyes, high nose. The man who'd just saved me and my baby was Jack Sullivan. My mouth hung open. I couldn't find words to thank him. Jack looked me up and down. Then, at the ultrasound, his naturally icy face changed from a 1,000-year frost to a 1,000,000-year snow peak. It terrified me. I feared he'd remember everything and force me to abort the baby, or keep the child and never let me see him. The more I imagined, the more scared I became. Trembling, I blurted out, "The baby isn't yours." As soon as I said it, I regretted it. Jack had amnesia. My random statement was basically a confession. Forcing a smile, I quickly added, "Haha, I'm just joking, handsome. Thank you. My husband wasn't here just now. Luckily you caught me, or I wouldn't know how to explain to him." The smoother I lied, the darker Jack's face grew. Finally, without a word, he coldly turned and left. After that day, I spent several days hiding at home, except for one call from Mr. Wang asking if I still wanted the pink teddy bear from the bedroom. I heard no more about Jack. I breathed a sigh of relief. Gradually, I returned to my leisurely pregnancy life. Soon, it was time for my next checkup. This time, I chose the most prestigious hospital in Beijing. As I leisurely headed there, I thought, surely Jack couldn't have transferred here too? The prestigious Beijing hospital gleamed under the morning sun, its glass facade reflecting the bustling city like a polished mirror. I stepped into the lobby, my heart lighter than it had been in weeks. The fourth-ring hospital incident with Jack had left me rattled, but I convinced myself it was a fluke. A man like him, Jack Sullivan, heir to a fortune, a name whispered in elite circles, wouldn't linger in ordinary places, nor would he chase shadows of a past he couldn't recall. This hospital, with its marble floors and hushed efficiency, felt like a fortress of safety. Surely, I wouldn't see him here. I adjusted the scarf around my neck, a soft pink one I'd bought to match the nursery I was planning. My baby deserved the best, and I was determined to give it to him. The ultrasound from the last visit was tucked safely in my purse, laminated as I'd promised myself. I smiled, imagining the tiny heartbeat I'd soon hear again. The obstetrics department was on the 3rd floor, and as I waited for the elevator, I hummed a soft tune, my hand resting on my belly. The elevator doors slid open, and I stepped inside, only to freeze. There, leaning against the back wall, was Jack Sullivan. No bandages this time, just a tailored gray suit that hugged his frame, his sharp features softened only slightly by the morning light filtering through the elevator's glass panel. His eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, the air felt too thick to breathe. "Miss," he said, his voice low and deliberate, "you seem familiar." My heart thudded so loudly, I was sure he could hear it. I don't think so," I stammered, forcing a smile. "I just have one of those faces." I pressed the button for the 3rd floor repeatedly, as if it could make the elevator move faster. He tilted his head, studying me. "No, I'm certain. Have we met before?" The doors closed, trapping us in the small space. I clutched my purse tighter, the ultrasound inside feeling like a ticking bomb. "I'm sure we haven't," I said, my voice too high-pitched. "I'm just here for a checkup." His gaze flicked to my hand, still resting on my belly. A shadow crossed his face, and I cursed myself for drawing attention to it. "A checkup," he repeated, almost to himself. "For your husband?" The lie from the fourth ring hospital came rushing back, and I nodded quickly. Yes, exactly. My husband. He's very protective. The words felt like sand in my mouth, but I held his stare, refusing to crumble. The elevator dinged, and the doors opened. I practically bolted out, muttering a quick thank you over my shoulder. I didn't dare look back, but I felt his eyes on me, heavy and unyielding, until I turned the corner toward the obstetrics wing. The checkup was a blur. The doctor's voice, the cold gel on my skin, the steady thump of my baby's heartbeat. It all faded under the weight of Jack's presence. Why was he here? Was he following me? No, that was absurd. He didn't even know me anymore. But the coincidence gnawed at me, a splinter in my mind. As I left the hospital, I scanned the lobby, half expecting to see him waiting. He wasn't there. I exhaled, but the unease lingered. The next few weeks were a delicate dance of avoidance. I stayed away from hospitals unless absolutely necessary, opting for private clinics when I could. My new apartment in the fourth ring was my sanctuary, its walls painted a soft cream that glowed in the evening light. I'd started decorating the nursery, hanging tiny star-shaped lights and arranging stuffed animals on a shelf. Every night, I'd sit in the rocking chair I'd bought secondhand, rubbing my belly and whispering stories to my baby. Stories of a world where no one could take him away. But Jack's face haunted me. Not the cold, amnesiac Jack who'd stared at me in the elevator, but the old Jack, the one who'd laughed with me in the Sunview Bay villa, who'd traced circles on my palm when he thought I was asleep. I hated how those memories crept in, uninvited, stirring a longing I couldn't afford. He wasn't that man anymore. Maybe he never had been. One evening, as I sipped chamomile tea and scrolled through baby names online, my phone buzzed. It was Mr. Wong, his name on the screen like a ghost from the past. My stomach twisted as I answered. Miss Claire, he said, his tone as measured as ever. Mr. Sullivan has asked me to check on you. He seems concerned about your well-being. Concerned? I laughed, the sound brittle. He doesn't even know me. Mr. Wong hesitated. He's been asking questions. About his past, about the villa. He found a photo of you in one of the drawers. I didn't know what to tell him. My breath caught. A photo? I'd been so careful to take everything with me when I left. Or had I? My mind raced, trying to remember. What did you say? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I told him it was likely a mistake, that the photo was old. But Miss Claire, he's persistent. He's requested a meeting with you. No, I said too quickly. I mean, I can't. I'm busy. Tell him I've moved on. Tell him I'm married. Miss Claire. Please, Mr. Wong. Just handle it. I hung up before he could argue, my hands shaking. The apartment felt smaller, the walls closing in. I stood and paced, my tea forgotten. Jack was asking questions. He was digging into a past he wasn't supposed to remember. And if he did remember, if he found out about the baby, what then? The next day, I decided to clear my head with a walk in the park near my apartment. The air was crisp, the leaves turning gold and red, and I wrapped my coat tighter around my growing belly. I needed normalcy, a reminder that my life was mine now, not tethered to Jack Sullivan's whims. The park was quiet, save for the laughter of children playing near the fountain. I sat on a bench, watching them, my heart aching with a mix of joy and fear. My baby would be one of them someday, running and laughing free. I'd make sure of it. Claire? The voice sent a jolt through me. I turned, and there he was, Jack, standing a few feet away, a scarf loosely draped around his neck. He looked out of place in the park, his polished shoes sinking slightly into the grass. His eyes were softer than I remembered, almost uncertain. How do you know my name? I asked, my voice sharp. I stood, clutching my purse like a shield. He took a step closer, then stopped, as if sensing my tension. I don't know. It just came to me. I saw you sitting here, and it felt right. He frowned, rubbing his temple. I've been having these flashes. Images of a garden with sunflowers. A pink room. You. My heart stopped. The villa. He was remembering the villa. I forced a laugh, though it sounded hollow. You must have me confused with someone else. I don't know anything about sunflowers. His eyes narrowed, searching my face. I don't think so. There's something about you. I can't explain it, but I feel it. I took a step back, my mind racing. I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan, but I'm not who you think I am. I have to go. I turned, walking briskly toward the park's exit, my pulse hammering in my ears. I didn't look back, but I knew he was watching me, his gaze a weight I couldn't shake. For a while, life settled into a tentative rhythm. I avoided the park, the hospital, anywhere I might run into Jack. My prenatal checkups became quick, discreet visits to a small clinic on the city's outskirts. The doctor there was kind, her hands gentle as she checked my baby's progress. Each visit filled me with hope, a reminder of the life I was building. But the fear lingered, a shadow at the edge of my happiness. Jack's words in the park echoed in my mind. I feel it. What did that mean? Was his memory returning, piece by piece? Or was it something else, some inexplicable pull that kept drawing him to me? One night, as I sat knitting a tiny blue blanket, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Mr. Wong. My heart sank as I opened it. Miss Claire, Mr. Sullivan insists on seeing you. He's been visiting the villa, asking about the sunflowers. He's found more items, a necklace, a book with your handwriting. I can't dissuade him. Please consider meeting him. It might put this to rest. I stared at the message, my fingers tightening around the knitting needles. A necklace. A book. Pieces of me I'd left behind, like breadcrumbs leading him back. I wanted to scream, to throw the phone across the room. Instead, I typed a single word. No. But as I set the phone down, a new fear took root. What if Jack didn't stop? What if he kept digging until he found the truth? My baby deserved a life free of a shadow, but how could I protect him when Jack Sullivan seemed determined to haunt us? Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet Jack. Not because I wanted to, but because Mr. Wong's messages grew more urgent, and I couldn't shake the feeling that ignoring Jack would only make things worse. We arranged to meet at a neutral place, a quiet cafe on the edge of the city, far from the villa and its memories. I arrived early, choosing a table in the corner where I could see the door. My hands trembled as I stirred my tea, the spoon clinking against the cup. When Jack walked in, the air seemed to shift, growing heavier. He spotted me immediately and crossed the room with that same purposeful stride I'd once found so comforting. Claire, he said, sitting across from me. No question this time, just my name, spoken with a quiet certainty that made my skin prickle. Mr. Sullivan, I replied, keeping my tone formal. What do you want? He leaned forward, his eyes searching mine. I want to understand. These flashes I've been having, they're all tied to you. The villa, the sunflowers, the pink room. I don't know what's real and what's not, but I can't ignore it. I swallowed, my throat dry. You're mistaken. I was just someone who worked for you. A decorator, maybe. I helped with the villa. That's all. His brow furrowed, and for a moment, I thought he'd argue. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, familiar necklace, a delicate silver chain with a sunflower pendant. My heart sank. I'd worn it every day in the villa, a gift from Jack in happier times. This was in the garden, he said, holding it out. It has your initials engraved on the back. CL. I stared at the necklace, my mind scrambling for an explanation. It's a coincidence, I said weakly. Lots of people have those initials. He didn't look convinced. Claire, I don't know what happened between us, but I know there was something. I feel it every time I see you, and I think you feel it too. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. I don't. I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan, but you're wrong. Please leave me alone. I grabbed my purse and fled, the necklace glinting on the table like accusation. The meeting left me shaken, but I refused to let it derail me. I threw myself into preparing for the baby, buying tiny clothes and painting the nursery walls a soft yellow. I told myself Jack would give up, that he'd move on once he realized I wasn't worth the effort. But deep down, I knew better. Jack Sullivan didn't give up. Not when he wanted something. One afternoon, as I returned from the market with a bag of fresh fruit, I found a letter slipped under my door. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but the signature at the bottom made my blood run cold. Jack Sullivan. Claire, I don't know why you're running from me, but I can't stop thinking about you. The memories are coming back, piece by piece. I see you in the villa, laughing in the garden, your hair catching the sunlight. I don't know what we were to each other, but I know it was real. Please, meet me at the villa. I need to understand. I need to see you. Jack. I crumpled the letter, my hands shaking. The villa. The one place I'd sworn never to return to. But his words stirred something in me, a dangerous mix of anger and longing. He was remembering, or at least he thought he was. And if he kept pushing, he'd uncover the truth about the baby. I sank onto the couch, my mind racing. I could ignore him, keep running, maybe even leave Beijing. But the idea of uprooting my life, of starting over somewhere new, felt like a betrayal of the future I'd dreamed for my child. No, I had to face him. I had to end this, once and for all. The Sunview Bay villa looked exactly as I remembered it, its white walls glowing under the afternoon sun. The sunflowers in the garden swayed gently in the breeze, their golden petals a painful reminder of happier days. I stood at the gate, my heart pounding, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake. Jack was waiting in the garden, his back to me as he stared at the flowers. He turned when he heard my footsteps, his face lighting up with something like relief. "You came," he said, his voice soft. "I shouldn't have," I replied, crossing my arms. "This is a mistake." He stepped closer, his eyes searching mine. "Why do you keep saying that? What are you so afraid of?" I wanted to scream the truth, that I was afraid of him, of what he could take from me. But I held my tongue, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "I'm not afraid. I just don't belong here anymore. You made that clear when you told me to leave." His face fell, and for a moment, he looked genuinely hurt. "I don't remember doing that. I don't remember any of it. But I'm trying, Claire. I'm trying to understand who I was, who you were to me." "You don't get it," I snapped, my voice rising. "You can't just waltz back into my life and demand answers. You threw me out. You gave me money to disappear. And now you expect me to, what? Help you piece together your past." He flinched, but didn't back down. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want the truth. Were we in love?" The question hit me like a punch. I opened my mouth, then closed it, the words caught in my throat. Were we in love? I'd thought so, once. But love didn't survive amnesia and abandonment. Love didn't survive a 7-figure payoff and a demand to vanish. "I don't know," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe we were, but it doesn't matter now." I turned to leave, but his hand caught my wrist, gentle but firm. "It matters to me," he said, his voice raw. "And I think it matters to you too." I pulled away, my heart racing. "Don't follow me, Jack. Don't call me. Just let me go." I walked away, the sunflowers blurring through my tears, their golden faces mocking me with memories I couldn't escape. The weeks that followed were a blur of conflicting emotions. I wanted to hate Jack, to bury the past and move forward, but his words clung to me like damp clothes. Were we in love? I didn't know anymore. All I knew was that my baby was coming, and I couldn't let Jack's questions jeopardize the life I was building. But he didn't stop. Letters arrived every few days, each one more earnest than the last. He wrote about the villa, about dreams he couldn't explain, about a pull he felt toward me. I burned the letters, but their words seared into my mind. He was getting closer, his memories piecing together like a puzzle I couldn't control. One evening, as I sat in the nursery, a knock at the door startled me. I froze, my heart pounding. It was late, too late for visitors. I crept to the door and peered through the peephole. Mr. Wong stood there, his face grim. "Miss Claire," he said when I opened the door, "I'm sorry to come unannounced. It's about Mr. Sullivan." I gripped the doorframe, my knees weak. "What is it?" "He's in the hospital. There was an incident. He collapsed at the villa, clutching that necklace. He's been asking for you." My mind spun. Collapsed? Was he sick? Or was this another ploy to draw me out? "I can't," I said, shaking my head. "I can't keep doing this." Mr. Wong's eyes softened. "I understand. But he's not himself, Miss Claire. The doctors say it's stress, maybe something to do with his memory. He keeps saying your name." I closed my eyes, torn between fear and guilt. Jack was suffering, and a part of me, the part that still remembered his laughter, his touch, wanted to help. But the other part, the part that carried my baby, screamed at me to stay away. "Tell him I'm sorry," I said finally, "but I can't see him." Mr. Wong nodded, his face unreadable, and left. I sank to the floor, my hands cradling my belly, and cried for the life I'd lost, and the one I was fighting to keep. The hospital incident changed something in me. I couldn't keep running, couldn't keep hiding. Jack's persistence was wearing me down, and I knew I had to confront him, not for his sake, but for mine. For my baby's. I chose the villa again, the only place that felt like neutral ground. When I arrived, Jack was sitting on the garden bench, the sunflower necklace in his hands. He looked tired, his face pale, but his eyes lit up when he saw me. Claire, he said, standing. Thank you for coming. I'm not here for you, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. I'm here to end this. You need to stop. The letters, the questions, all of it. I have a life now, and you're not part of it. He took a step closer, his expression pained. I can't stop. Not when I see you in every corner of this place. Not when I dream about you every night. Claire, I don't know what we had, but I know it was real. And I think you're carrying my child. The words hit me like a tidal wave. I staggered back, my hand flying to my belly. No, I whispered. You're wrong. Am I? His voice was gentle, but firm. I saw the ultrasound, Claire. I saw the way you looked at it. And I know, deep down, that it's mine. Panic clawed at my chest. I wanted to run, to scream, to deny everything. But the truth was there, in the curve of my belly, in the memories we'd shared. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Even if it is, I said, my voice trembling. It doesn't change anything. You didn't want me, Jack. You didn't want this. And I won't let you take it from me now. He reached for me, but I stepped back, shaking my head. Don't, I said. Just don't. I turned and walked away, my heart breaking with every step. But I didn't look back. I couldn't. The confrontation left me raw, but it also gave me clarity. I couldn't keep living in fear of Jack's memories. I had to protect my baby no matter what. I threw myself into preparing for his arrival, buying a crib, stocking up on diapers, and signing up for parenting classes. Every step felt like a defiance, a declaration that I was enough. But the letters didn't stop. They came less frequently, their tone more subdued, but they were still there, a reminder of Jack's persistence. I stopped burning them, instead tucking them into a drawer unopened. Maybe one day, when my baby was older, I'd read them. Maybe one day, I'd tell him about the man who might have been his father. One afternoon, as I was folding tiny onesies, my phone rang. It was the clinic, reminding me of my next checkup. I thanked them and hung up, but the call stirred a new fear. What if Jack was there again? What if he'd found out about the clinic? I shook my head, pushing the thought away. I was being paranoid. Jack couldn't know everything. But as I packed my bag for the appointment, I slipped a small can of pepper spray inside, just in case. The clinic was quiet when I arrived, the waiting room empty except for an older woman reading a magazine. I relaxed slightly, scanning the room for any sign of Jack. He wasn't there. I exhaled, settling into a chair to wait. The checkup was routine, the doctor's voice soothing as she confirmed my baby's health. I left the clinic with a new ultrasound, my heart full. But as I stepped into the parking lot, I saw him, Jack, leaning against a black car, his eyes fixed on me. Claire, he called, his voice carrying across the lot. Please, just hear me out. I froze, my hand tightening around the ultrasound. No, I said, my voice firm. I told you to leave me alone. I know, he said, stepping closer. And I tried. But I can't. Not when I know the truth. What truth? I snapped, my fear giving way to anger. You don't know anything about me. I know you're pregnant, he said, his voice soft but unyielding. And I know the baby is mine. I remembered, Claire. Last night it came back. The villa, the nights we spent together. The way you looked at me. I remember everything. My knees buckled, and I grabbed the nearest car for support. He remembered. After all this time, he remembered. It doesn't matter, I said, my voice shaking. You can't just come back into my life like this. I'm not asking you to take me back, he said, his eyes pleading. I just want to be there. For you, for the baby. I want to make this right. I stared at him, torn between the past and the future. He looked sincere, his face open in a way it hadn't been since before the accident. But trust was a fragile thing, and mine had been shattered too many times. I need time, I said finally. I can't do this now. He nodded, his shoulders sagging. I'll wait, he said, as long as it takes. The weeks that followed were a test of endurance. Jack kept his word, giving me space but never straying far. He sent no more letters, made no more demands, but I'd see him sometimes at the park, at the market, always at a distance watching. It wasn't threatening, but it was a reminder that he wasn't giving up. As my due date approached, I found myself softening. Not toward Jack, but toward the idea of forgiveness. Not for him, but for me. Holding on to anger was exhausting, and I wanted to be whole for my baby. I started reading his letters, their words raw and honest, filled with a longing that mirrored my own. One evening, as I sat in the nursery, I made a decision. I called Mr. Wong and asked him to arrange a meeting with Jack. Not at the villa, but at my apartment, the place I'd made my own. When Jack arrived, he looked nervous, his hands fidgeting at his sides. I let him in, gesturing to the couch. "Sit," I said, my voice steady. He sat, his eyes taking in the nursery door, the tiny clothes folded on the table. "It's beautiful," he said softly. "You've done an amazing job." I didn't smile, but I didn't snap either. "I need you to understand something," I said. "This baby is mine. I've built a life for us, and I'm not giving that up. If you want to be part of it, you have to prove you're not going to disappear again." He nodded, his eyes never leaving mine. "I will," he said. "I'll do whatever it takes." I didn't know if I believed him, but as I looked at him, sitting in my home, I felt something shift, a tiny crack in the wall I'd built around my heart. Maybe, just maybe, there was room for him in this new life. Not as a lover, not yet, but as something else. A father, perhaps. A friend. As my baby kicked inside me, I took a deep breath and extended my hand. "One step at a time," I said. He took my hand, his grip warm and steady. "One step at a time," he agreed. And for the first time in months, I felt the weight of the past begin to lift, making way for a future I couldn't yet see, but was finally ready to face.